Welcome, everyone, to the Voice of the Veteran show. The first Voice of the Veteran is the #1 show in the nation for firsthand veteran experience at the VA. I'm your host, Army Airborne veteran Gail Ochiltree, and in the back we have MC Franklin, the producer, running things back there, keeping us on track. There he is. Thank you, MC, for showing up today. Hey, I want to talk to you a little bit. I'm going to put something in the chat box right now so that you know that the Voice of the Veteran show is also recorded and you can watch it anytime you want to by clicking on that link and go in there. You can also sign up for notifications about the show, and that's your link right there. Just write it down or put it in your calendar. You know what? I have a new nickname for the VA. I call it. Well, actually, I call it this to make everybody laugh, but I call it the VA is kind of a logic-free zone, you know. And for my own personal mental health, I just call it a logic-free zone because not everything is, normal at the VA every day. And I go, why would they do that? Well, here's something I want to talk about today. And that's why I want to explain to everyone who may or may not know this, that the VA and the DOD both refer to a thing that's called bad paper or a bad paper discharge. Now, bad paper, what I'm going to refer to today comes from a report that I'm going to reference by the Veterans Legal Clinic and Legal Service Center at Harvard Law School and Veterans Legal Services. Now, I'm going to be including that link right here, right now. Why don't I just put that in there so that you have that available while I'm talking about it, because this is a very important report. This is like a 50-page report, and what I'm going to do today is mostly generally define what bad paper actually is so that people will understand about it. Now, every service member is assigned what's called a character of service or a discharge status upon leaving the military. Now, while most service members receive an honorable discharge status, there are approximately 7% of the veterans since 1980 that received a discharge status that is not honorable or that is also known as bad paper. Now, service members usually get bad paper because of some alleged misconduct, and I say alleged, though the misconduct is frequently is minor. It's some kind of military offense or not approved in any kind of court. It's vague at best. A military offense might even be not, making your bed or not, making your rack properly or making your socks smile. I mean, that could be a military offense. And if you're not following orders, then you can get, bad paper. Now, studies show that many service members are separated with bad paper or misconduct related to a military service or mental or physical condition. One of those, of course, would be military sexual trauma. Imagine that, being thrown out because you had a mental problem because you were attacked or military sexual trauma in some manner. Now, picture this. A veteran with bad paper have higher rates of mental conditions, suicide, homelessness, and even unemployment. Duh, of course they might. Now, many have disabilities related to their service, which may in fact lead to their being discharged with bad paper. Many were discharged with bad paper under past discriminatory practices that targeted veterans because of their sexual orientation or sexual identity. Veterans with bad paper, therefore, are some of the veterans that most need VA healthcare services, yet they are being wrongfully excluded from from those services without due process, not even going through court. So a bad paper discharge affects whether or to what extent a former service member may be eligible for federal veterans benefits. Now, here's the snag. Most benefits administered by the VA including health care, a bad paper discharge does not render a veteran categorically eligible. That's a very important term, categorically eligible. Rather, it puts them in what's kind of a limbo category that requires the VA to conduct an individual eligibility determination. This is crazy. I'm telling you, it's even difficult that I've parsed it all out, and it has all kinds of interesting nuances that don't have a category to put anybody in so that they can get benefits. They're categorically denied. So they're in a discharge which is under dishonorable conditions or other than dishonorable conditions. In other words, limbo. You don't know which one it is. That determination process is itself beset by delays and inconsistent decisions. There's no consistent way of determining this kind of thing. But many veterans with bad paper report attempting to apply for VA health care and are simply being denied or turned away. They are told by frontline staff that their discharge status makes them categorically ineligible for health care. I'm telling you right now, you ask them, define the category for me, please. Please let me understand what that category is that I'm being denied for. Furthermore, sometimes they are told to apply, can you imagine this one, to the DoD, Department of Defense, to upgrade their discharge status and return to the VA later if the discharge is upgraded and is successful. The DoD process is, as we all know, typically burdensome and rarely successful and takes years to resolve. So here's what's important and what I want you to know today. Every single veteran, regardless of discharge status, has the right to apply to the VA for health care. Every veteran has the right to receive a written decision on his or her application and information on how to appeal any denial that comes their way. So I'm telling you, you have the Harvard report in the chat. You have the link. It's very important that you read this for any kind of details that you might have. If you know anyone who has quote unquote bad paper, you can apply and be denied and know why you're being denied and have due process regarding your bad paper. And I just want to bring that up today so that we all understand where to get the information on that, because it has been very confusing. And I'm proud of the veterans at the VA Law Clinic at Harvard for doing this report for us. Let's fire this show up with our first guest. I want to talk about what's going on in the VA today that's current. My first guest today is Monte and Rhobert, a VA employee at the CTRS tent camp at VA West Los Angeles. There he is. Hey,
that's
Monte,
me.
how are you doing?
Great. How you doing, Gail?
I'm good. Now I got that bad paper stuff over with. What a mess, huh? Did you hear that?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Man, I'm telling you, people need help to get through that kind of thing so that they can get benefits and come and see you. Hey, I want to ask a question. Now, what was your MOS in the military? I know we have some pictures of you too that we're going to show while we're talking about this, but what was your job?
I was a fireman, but I had taken the petty officer for damage control, and I got that. But I had passed, but I didn't advance because they had too many guys that want to be damage control. Because at the time, like being a fireman, that was a thing that everybody kind of wanted to do, and there's a lot of guys, so you had to get like a perfect score. But my second time around, if I would have stayed in, I would have made, I would have become petty officer or whatever.
Yeah. Well, we call it an MOS in the Army, military occupation specialty for the civilians out there. What do they call it in the Navy?
My position was damage control.
Oh, okay. And so that was actually your title when they would
damage controlman. Yeah, I went from being a boiler tech to a machinist mate to a damage controlman. Because
Yeah.
when you get in, if you don't choose a class or where you want to go or a school, they put you in as a fireman or a seaman, and then you go to apprenticeship training. And then after apprenticeship training, if you're going overseas, that's what I did. After you go overseas, home port training, then
Yeah.
you go over to your ship.
Oh,
That
there's
ship.
your ship right there. What's the name of that ship?
That was a USS Belknap. I served with a lot of great guys over there, and at the time they didn't have any women on an all-male ship like this, which
Bummer.
was too bad for a lot of guys. But
Exactly right.
other than the women being on board, it's just a nice thing just to see women sometimes and be able to chat and stuff like that, rather than going out at port and talking with some women that get hit all the time and they don't want to talk to you or whatever. It was tough. It was tough being on an all-male ship.
Yeah, it always seems like it is a good balance overall. I mean, there are issues and problems gender-wise, but you know what?
Right.
I was in jump school, so I know what it was like to be around a mostly men,
Right.
and I always had a great time. I mean, I just didn't have any problems with that. So tell me a little bit about where you were stationed.
All right. Well, I was stationed in Gaeta, Italy, and which is about what's in between Naples and it's in between Rome. And that was my after I graduated.
What a handsome guy you are.
Well, thank you. That's without all this and a lot slimmer.
Yeah, well, it happens.
Yeah. So Gaeta was beautiful. Cobblestone streets. It was just a beautiful place to be. Italy is a wonderful place. I had a lot of options to do different outside things from the military. Like they asked if we wanted to paint a cathedral and go up to Rome, and a lot of stuff at the time was kind of closed off. I don't know, they're restructuring or whatever it was, so we couldn't see not the Parthenon, but the Colosseum. I forget what they call it, but I really wanted to go in there and see that, but it was closed off. I think they were just restructuring or something. But I painted this church and was able to meet. They had some people from Africa that were coming over that this church was helping, and they were doing a great job with people coming in from different countries and like helping them get out of the homelessness in Italy, and then feeding them, stuff like that. So I was a part of a group that went out and painted the cathedral, cathedral. And then the mayor of Gaeta had me and a friend come over to his home, meet his daughters, and they gave they had dinner for us and stuff. Italians are just wonderful people. I had a great time when I was there. I missed it when I left. I should have extended on for another 2 years, but I didn't. I went back to Virginia, and I had a good time there too, but I just really missed Italy.
That's what I was going to ask you a little bit about too, was how long were you in the military?
I was in for 4 years during the Shielding Storm.
So what were you thinking? I mean, I'm just trying to think about transition things, because we talk about a lot of things when veterans are transitioning out of the military. Did you have any kind of transitional help when you got out? Were there any kind of programs like, that helped you get a job, or,
No.
what was your plan?
I was on a ship that they said that had hazmat or some hazmat stuff on it. And so what we had to do is I was worried that I have a constant cough now. And so it's been that way ever since I got out. And so I wanted to check. I want to do like a CAT scan. And involved with getting out, they were just like, well, we'll just give you an x-ray and then, that's it. And so for me, there was no big transitional thing. It was just your back pay on whatever you had. And that was it. Bye, So it was very quick. And so when you leave, when I was in during the 90s, from 90 to 94, it was just get out, pretty much. There was nothing that they wanted to really help you with. Didn't seem like they really cared. They just did your time and leave.
So there was no Wounded Warrior program or any kind of group that reached out to you to help you transition into civilian life?
I think I ran into the USO. They were a great organization. I was going through, I think when I was on like different flights, different areas, I would go to the USO and they were always very helpful and anything I needed. They had like little cots that you could sleep in and waiting for your flight, and they would wake you up and stuff like that. But as far as like any other outside organization, no one ever like really approached me. Even the VA, I did it myself. I went over there, and in about 97, I just felt like I was a number back then. And then I went back after I was just before I got married. I went, and it just seemed like the same thing. I just felt like a number, and no one really cared. And then after I got divorced, that's when I really needed the help. And I think things had changed by then. That was in 2010. So, and then a lot of organizations like the VOA, Volunteers of America, PATH, those were the two that I really remember a lot. You know, trying to always, they were always there to help me out when I was going through my homelessness phase.
So clearly you care about veterans issues because
yes.
I know that when I met you, we met at the VA, and I know that you're a VA employee right now. What is your title right now, and what do you do?
I am a peer specialist and also outreach. Primarily right now, I'm more of a peer that deals with CTRS at the VA, which is care.
Now, CTRS, we want to say what that is for the people watching.
Right.
CTRS.
Care, treatment, rehabilitation services. Excellent. So we don't just do one kind of service. We do a lot of different ones. We have a peer like myself to talk with our vets and deal with the emotional side of what might be going on. We don't get clinical because that's what we're not certified for that. Right. But we try to help out as much as we can. If we know a guy is or a female is a veteran that is in a situation where they might be, you know, thinking about suicide or whatnot, we try to talk to them. And then we have social workers that deal with that side. And then if it's really a bad situation, then of course, then they go to the medical side and then see their psychiatrist. But as a peer, that's what I do, peer specialist.
Well, that's an important job. I know we have VSOs, we have social workers, we have peer support specialists, and we have caseworkers. And we're going to be not clearing that up today, but that's certainly something very important that vets need to know, that there are all these different levels of people that can help them out with issues like, you know, exactly. And what you're doing is a very important job. How long, Monte, have you been working? No, you work at VA West Los Angeles right now. Is that correct?
Yes. I've been there probably for about 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
Yes.
Okay. So now I don't know. Let's talk just a little bit. I'm going to make a statement here. The tent camp right now at VA West LA is an initiative, and it's not a program. So the difference is the funding. Program is ongoing funding. Is that how?
That's what I've heard. I don't know too much about that side. Shannon Santini, she's our. I don't know if I didn't want to throw the name out there, but she's my boss.
No, I know who she is. She's good. Right. She does a great job out there.
I wasn't thinking I threw her name out there.
No, she'll live. For goodness sakes, we're talking nice about her.
Yeah, she's wonderful, and she takes care of the social work side of it, and then gets the guys to whatever they need clinically. And that's about it.
Now, I understand, though, too, that right now there is a funding situation going on, but I also understand that it's going to be seamless. It still may remain an initiative, but I'm anxious to see, you know, what's next for that situation out there, because you know, you and I only get to hear little bits and pieces about it in our various jobs. I mean, we have two very separate jobs and everything, but I understand there is kind of a funding change that's in transition right now, and everybody seems to be very happy about how it's working out. So there shouldn't be any problems at all. Let's talk about that. You know, I understand that the director of the hospital, Dr. Stephen Braverman, and Robert McKendrick, and I'm throwing out names, I'm just doing it, and Matt, and a bunch of them are on CVEB with me, so I get like briefings on what's going out there. And I understand they've been having some town halls out there to make sure that the veterans get direct information from their mouths to the ears of the veterans who may not have computers, may not have cell phones. Of course, I understand they're given some cell phones here, but that kind of thing. So they've been doing that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but for like the last 6 weeks, they've had several town halls out there. Is that right? Tell me about what goes on out there.
They've had 2 of them so far.
2 of them. Okay.
Yeah.
And so are the vets receptive to them being out there and getting information?
Yeah, I think it's great. It gives the veterans that are on San Vicente a word to our higher ups about what their concerns are and what their needs are. I know that ever since I've been a part of CTRS, other than the last few months, I was out there trying to get vets whatever I could, as far as boots and anything that they needed, underwear and socks and stuff that's needed. Sometimes I would take guys to get showers over at the Y that's down the street when I was doing the transportation side of it, if I could. And one of the things I noticed, I don't want to get off of the town hall, but I know that's where you're going to. But
no, it's fine. Whatever you could tell me about what goes on out there, I want to hear it.
Right. Just primarily, a lot of it has to do with, for me, it was getting to know the guys, finding out what they needed and stuff like that. And a lot of times it's phones or it's showers. And so I try to help them as much as I could. And then I think Matt was involved on getting, and Rob that's out there, he's almost out there every day. And then Manny that's out there working with them now. He's the outreach worker out there, does a wonderful job along with Rob. And I think Matt was trying to get those phones out there so they could get a hold of, any kind of VA related issues that they needed. And so that's been going on for a little while now. Yeah.
So we have a group of veterans that are living on the actual VA facility on the grounds that's inside the gate there on the Eisenhower entrance right off of San Vicente. And they live in the tents on the facility. Now, what's going on with all those tents that are outside of the gate? Are those all veterans?
I think quite a high percentage of them are. I don't know the percentage of them now. That would be to the outreach worker, Manny, that's out there. But he would know the facts on that. But when I was going out there, I think we had like 33 vets out there, and I think the percentage of it was probably a good 90%, maybe a high 80% that were veterans. Every once in a while, you get someone that would come in that would have their own kind of tent just to feel safe. So they weren't a vet; they were just they were a civilian. And nothing bad about that. Just that they wanted to feel safe in a community that was, a lot of the guys do a lot of work about cleaning up and making sure that everyone's safe and stuff like that. So there's a lot of great people out there.
Now, are the veterans outside of the gate out on San Vicente, do social workers go out there and visit them and offer them in the VA services? What goes on with that?
Very easily. It's just a process that we had like a standout a while back ago, where the VA usually has stand downs. The last stand out we had was due to COVID, so we couldn't have a big stand down that got everybody in and fed the vets and gave free stuff as far as boots and stuff like that. So we had to do a standout, which we got out there. I had a team, got them together, and they were like nurses, they were social workers and peers, and we all got in when we got out there. And this is something that happens every once in a while. But the other side of it, which is like the social workers or the nurses, go out there at least once a week, I would think, and to see the vets, see if there's anything happening.
Once a week, that's good. Once a week is great. I mean, that's regular.
As far as I know. It seems like they're always out there. I know we had a doctor that was working with us, a Dr. Capone at the time, and he was going out there and working with them too. So there's a lot of people that within this whole process, within a year that I've been a part of it, a year and a half now with CTRS, we've had some great people come and go, and it's sad when you have people that you're involved with and you see every day, and they're very compassionate, and they want to do something better for the vets out on San Vicente and at CTRS. And so, it's hard when people come and go like that, but I think we try to keep as many as we can.
Now, out at the tent camp, they have shower facilities. I've been out there. I've seen that. They have, regular restrooms, and the upkeep on that is a regular thing. It's not like some construction site out there, So that's
a lot of dirt, though.
Pardon me?
It's a lot of dirt.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
It used to be a grassy, nice little lawn, and now it's primarily almost all dirt around CTRS now. So it's kind of.
But they did put out platforms for these tents to go on, so that they're not just sitting there in the mud and the rain.
Right.
And Voluntary Services has a new name, of course, that I can't remember right now. But they have an entire facility that can give people suits and pants and shoes and things to go get a job. Right. Now, are the vets encouraged to be in a program while they're in the tent camp, or are they just laying around in their tents all day?
Well, it's a low demand process, a concept. I don't know. We're not a program, so we're an initiative.
Oh, good point.
The facts. Yeah. You know what I mean? So all I can say is it's low demand.
Yeah.
They're able to come and go. There's no curfew. And so primarily, but they have to have a housing plan, and that's one of the things. And then also there's a few rules that we have, and it has to do with not bringing outside furniture in so that your tent gets built up. We've had a few guys do that where they bring in outside stuff at night or whatnot, and they overrun the platforms, and we try to keep it clean so we don't have fire hazards and stuff like that.
Right.
And then a lot of it has to do with the hoarder kind of mentality, where you want to bring stuff in because stuff's out there and you want to not miss out on it. You bring it to the tent and it just becomes a cluster, and it's a lot of hard work, because then I got to break those tents down once the guys leave, due to that, them having their housing, and understanding that when they're at CTRS that they're going into some kind of housing later on. They're going to VASH, SSVF. They're going to go into some transitional program, GPD, something like that. And we try to get that going so that they're not just sitting around doing nothing. But a lot of the guys have been able to save, and that's the main focal point about it, is if you're going to be there, save so that you can get out and get on VASH, and then if you qualify, like I did, and then you get into VASH, and then you're able to get in your own apartment.
Right. And let's talk about, I know you mentioned earlier to me, and I don't want to leave this out before we finish up our interview here, about women in transitional housing, because, that's an ongoing subject that comes up at the VA almost every single day that I'm there, about transitional housing for women. So go ahead, and I don't have any questions to ask you about it. Just tell me about it, your own words.
From when I started, it was a lot of it. I was a part of the VOA at the time. And then before I got into the VA, it was a lot about, I was going to USC collaboratives, and I would have women with kids or women vets by themselves come in, and they'd be crying and they'd wonder where they could go. And there was just not enough facilities. So I would specify at these USC collaboratives that we have that the VOA is a part of, and PATH and the VA and some congressmen and some field reps go there and stuff like that. And so all it is what I found was that there wasn't enough for women. And so I would always try to specify that with the VA and try to get help for the female vets. It's always a hard process, but I know I've heard the VA is opening up a housing structure that they're refurbishing now for female vets. And then I also heard San Pedro out there is going to be opening up something for female vets too. So it's a deep thing for me. There's I looked it up, and like there's 18,000 female veterans that are in poverty, and then as far as homeless, it's like between 24 and 2,700 female vets that are out there and that are homeless. So it's something that's out there, and it's a hard thing. It's tough for female.
Yeah, but I'm glad you care, and I'm glad that you're talking about it, and I'm glad that we have this platform and situation where we can promote what's needed for female vets. And I'm very proud of the work that you do. Well, clearly you care. And I want to tell you how much I appreciate your being on the Voice of the Veteran show today and talking about these issues. And I'm going to come out and visit you again at the tent camp, and we'll sit and talk some more about this and see, you know, what it is we can do to work with the VA, not badmouth the VA. And of course, this show isn't about badmouthing the VA ever. It is about what can we, and we're not rubber stamping them either, for crying out loud. We're trying to do the right thing for veterans. And I really appreciate your hard work and being here today. And maybe you can come back really soon and tell us some more details about what's going on out there. Thank you very much for being here today, Monte Duarte. Thank you. You're a proud veteran. Thank you. God, what a great guy he is. Hey, I want to tell you something that happened before we bring on our next guest here. I did a dumb thing, and here's what I did. I shredded my EIP card. Now, do you know what that is? That's an economic impact payment card. Now, here's the reason why. I can hear you out there laughing at me already. Well, it's not too much fun what went on. But anyway, I recently received a letter, and it was from the Department of the Treasury of the United States asking me why I hadn't activated my EIP card. And the card that they sent me, by the way, on March 11th, back when, 2021. March 11th, and I'd shredded it. Well, I opened up the mail, and I saw this Visa card, and I don't know about you people out there, but man, I'm telling you, when I get a card in the mail and it says all you have to do is activate this and you can use the card immediately, well, that normally means that I'm taking out a loan for a couple $1,000s, and I didn't want to do that, so I shredded that sucker. Of course I did. I do that quite often. But I didn't read the fine print and know that it was the EIP card. Well, I felt like an idiot because this is like $600 in the shredder. You know what I'm saying? Woof, that's a lot of money. And so I shredded that sucker and felt like an idiot until I found out that there are thousands of people that have done the same thing. And that's why I got this letter in the mail about how to fix it. So basically, I called up on the phone, you know, and talked to somebody. I actually punched the buttons through, canceled out that last card, told them what happened to it, that I'd shredded it. Nobody stole it. It was shredded. And they were going to send me another one in 10 days. In 5 more days, they're going to send me that card, and everything is okie dokie. And so if you're out there, let me tell you, I have now since found out that there is actually an announcement on, what's the name of that for old people? AARP. That's right. And AARP, and they are saying, do not shred your EIP card. Too many people are thinking that it's something that it isn't, and that is money for you. So I'm telling you, just look twice before you do any shredding. Okay, boomers. Yeah. So here we go. Guest number 2. Robert is, you know what? I forgot how he said to pronounce his name, and I'm going to ask him first thing when he pops up. I'm telling you, my next guest is Robert, and he's a longtime friend of mine, and I still can't pronounce his name correctly, but whatever. So Robert's a nurse. He was a nurse at the VA, but he currently works as a nurse at the LA County Jail Towers. He's a Navy veteran, and there he is, right there. And Robert, I'm so glad you're here today. How are you doing?
I'm proud to be here. Thank you. How are you?
All right. So you were in the Navy.
Yep.
And tell me about, what was your job when you were in the Navy? Tell me a little bit about that.
I went in 1976 when our wonderful Jimmy Carter was president. And yeah, went in there, got the NTC at San Diego. Didn't have my choice of where to go, but they asked me about training for a corpsman or being a boatswain's mate. Well, me and my little naive self, I thought, okay, well, I'll take the first thing that comes along, which was boatswain's mate, and I got the corpsman training later. So I got sent after NTC. They sent me to Philly, the biggest rainstorm I ever saw in my life. On the first time on the East Coast, flew over a hurricane, followed the coast of Ireland. I can remember it like it was yesterday. Landed in Rota, Spain, and spent there for about a week, 2 weeks. Got to know the people there. Went on to Sicily, did a little bit of work there. Then I got transferred to the USS Nimitz, the 6th Fleet, and I was in heaven. I went all the ports over there and just really enjoyed myself.
So that's why you still travel around a lot, because you still like, so the Navy kind of got you into that, checking things out from here and there.
That's why I went into the Navy, because I knew I was going to travel. I always wanted to travel. My parents never went anywhere.
Well, how long were you in the Navy?
2.5 years. I got a special program, which means you were in for 2.5 years and then you got out. And if you wanted to stay in longer, of course you could, but I didn't. I went on with my life. It was disco and I wanted to have a life.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm proud of your service. Now, right now, I met you when you worked at the VA as a nurse. But right now, your job title, tell me a little bit about that. You work in the county Hooskow, the lockup, what do you actually call it? It's a jail, right? And it's those towers in downtown LA?
That is correct. It's called the Twin Towers Correctional Facility. It's been there since the early 90s. It needs an overhaul, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. But I work as a nurse there. I go between Tower 1 and Tower 2. And my job means giving medicine and doing triage. And for the lay people that don't know what that is, triage is deciding who gets to see the doctor in order of what their injuries are.
Interesting. And so now you started working there how long ago?
Well, I started in corrections in 2016. I kind of looked into it because they were looking for somebody in the LA City Department to work with LAPD. That's why I got into it. So I worked in their 3 jail systems. There are 3 main ones over there. There's the South Central Jail. There is the Van Nuys Jail, which is one of the older jails. And then there's the jail downtown, the Parker Center Jail, which has totally been revamped. That was in 2016. After 6 months, they told me they didn't need me anymore because it was a temporary job. And I went with a registry where a nurse works with an agency, in late 2016 at the Men's Central Jail. And then from there, they transferred me up north, up here where I live in Santa Clarita, to NCCH, which is the Peter Pitchess. It's called Wayside, but it used to be called Peter Pitchess. So I've been all over the county jails.
Well, now, the big question in my mind is that you were working indoors at a county jail with a lot of people that live really close together during the pandemic. Tell me a little bit about that and what goes on there to keep yourself safe from that spreading around. Seriously, you'd think the whole place would get it, but clearly not. Tell me about that.
You think they would not. And in the Twin Towers, there are certain areas where the men are. It's all men jail. I don't work with any of the women. They're sent to another area. But in the Central Jail, it's a little bit different. And I wasn't there during the pandemic. I was in the Twin Towers. What I can tell you is that a lot of people, there's only 2 to a room, which helps because if somebody got infected, they would segregate them right away. They were put into a separate area. And they were called PUI, people under investigation. And they were put in what we call quarantine. So right away, the supervisors got together. We all got together and put these people in quarantine. That's how it got controlled. And it got controlled rather quickly. So I won't get into the details about deaths or anything like that. I don't believe in talking about that. But I do know that everybody's safety was at issue. And then, as you know, when the crisis first started, everybody in the world was upset because nobody knew what was coming from, how it was transmitted. Everybody had to wear masks, so forth. So yet we still have to wear masks because it's indoor. And it's considered a cloistered situation. It's not as bad as the Men's Central Jail, which I've worked at too. That I don't know how they controlled that. That's a little bit different because those people were even closer quarters. But where I worked, to answer your question, it was controlled rather quickly.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good news because, seriously, the anxiety of being in a situation like that where you're going to get sick is like not fair on any level. Something has to go on to take care of that. Well, so you were telling me there was plexiglass up already.
Yes, that's already there. They have a little heavy glass between you and the inmate and there's like a thin glass. You can see them. It's transparent. You can see what everybody's doing. They have to, because the deputy has to see what they're doing. The deputy goes with you during the medication administration time, and there's a little slat. I'd say it's probably about 2 to 3 feet wide, where they can stick their hand in there to get the medication, and you watch them swallow it. That's the only opening there is. So the chances of getting anything through that little orifice are very, very slim. However, some people are frightened. I had a gentleman who came to me who was what we call a trustee. A trustee is somebody who works and gains the trust of the deputies, and they're on their way to get a better career. And they also have, by the way, before I forget to tell you, for veterans and everybody else, they have schooling there, and people can better themselves. So these people are called trustees, the ones that get out and do it. And I had one trustee tell me, he said, you know what? I am so scared. This crisis is starting. I have asthma. I could die in here. Took me about a half hour of talking to him, calming him down, telling him you're in the best place there is. You know, the county knows about it. We're helping you. This is the best place. This is the first place. If you're on your own at home, you can get it, and you won't get any help. You know, so that seemed to calm him down. So that's what I did. I calmed a lot of the men down by talking to them and letting them know that they had help.
Well, that's good. That's good. I can imagine that you would. I've just known you for a long time, and I imagine that you'd be absolutely a help to people in that situation. So Robert, tell me, how many veterans first of all, how many people are actually in that jail facility? And how many are veterans?
Okay. The first question you asked is how many people are in the correctional center in all of LA County. I don't have any idea, but the last I looked, which was about 6 months ago, there were probably from before the COVID, it was like 10,000 people in the whole county area, in the Twin Towers and Men's Central Jail. That I saw. And they do give you a countdown all the time. You can look at it and see who's in there and who's not in there. Right. Since the COVID, a lot of people were sent home. I believe, and don't count me on this, but I believe they got ankle bracelets and stuff like that. But a lot of people are coming back now that the COVID is easing up. So there's always around 8,000 people that are in those two areas, not counting the northern LA County one. There's probably about 4,000 or 5,000 there. So when you're dealing with all this and you have a situation like COVID, naturally, it was the first thing that the county people did is to look in there. I'm talking about supervisors and people that make the decisions, the administration. And they got cracked down on fairly quickly. So we did not have that many problems over there.
Interesting. And what percentage of those would you say or number are veterans?
Correct. I'd say hard to nail it down because a lot of people are embarrassed to say they're veterans. They don't like to talk about it. Now, in my travels, I see them when they're getting ready to go to another cell. They're getting ready to go to another area. The deputies are escorting them out. They'll say, hey, I'm a veteran. Oh, well, thank you for your service, sir. I was a veteran too. And we start talking about that. Did you know that the VA has services to help you? No, I didn't. Oh, well, let's talk about that. And I get the social worker involved. And, if they have a psychiatrist, I'll get them involved. But to answer your question, I'm not really sure because a lot of them don't like to tell me that they're veterans or anybody else. As a matter of fact, it doesn't come up that much. But some of them have the foresight and questioning ability to ask and say, hey, I'm a veteran. What benefits do I have in here? Mm-hmm. And there are outreach programs in there, which I research. calvet.ca.gov has something. Veterans Justice Outreach Program has it. So those two are the main ones that I know of. And there probably is something else that the VA can do for them. But they are on top of it. And the VA does go there twice a week to visit people. Oh,
do they? I didn't realize that. So twice a week, they go to see veterans. So if you're because I always tell everybody I'm a veteran, and you probably, you do too, because, it's a prideful thing. Why would they not want somebody to know they're veterans? Is that a threat when you're in jail in some manner, or?
I'm not. Well, I'm not going to rule that out because I don't know what a lot of people do.
Of course.
I'm only there for the medical part, and I'm giving them stuff, and I answer their questions about medicine. And the nurses that I know, we're not really taught to be involved. We're taught and instructed to give the pills, make sure they take their pills. I believe maybe they don't want to because it might be embarrassing for them. I don't know. I'm just putting it out there. I don't really know. I'm just putting it out there. Perhaps they're embarrassed. Perhaps, yes, maybe they feel that other people say, oh, he's a veteran. He thinks he's better than we are, or something like that. That I'm not sure, but that might be something I'm throwing out there that could be going on in that population.
Huh. Is there anything that you can think of that the VA would be helpful for the VA to do to help support veterans while they're incarcerated and in this situation. I don't know anything about this, so I'm depending on you to tell me how it is, because I just don't. But I do care. I want, to know what I can do, what I can say, what's the best thing for us to do to reach out to people who need help in this situation?
Well, for veterans who are incarcerated, like I said, maybe they don't want to say that's what they are. They do reach out to me, the veterans that I've seen, and I do tell them what's available so they can spread the word, because they will spread the word. And you may or may not know, these are the places where these men are kept. There's probably about, in what they call them pods, and there's three different pods that I take care of at each time in there when I'm assigned there. So in one pod, you probably have about 100 people in there. So if somebody's a veteran, the word would spread around and other ones would connect. So there is that kind of underground connection that they may have with each other. That's how the jail works that I see when they do that. As far as getting the benefits, all they have to do is tell a social worker, tell if they're seeing a psychiatrist, which many of them are, they can tell the psychiatric doctor, but they would reach out to the VA people and the veterans groups that comes there that I know of, because the VA does go there twice a week. And then from my understanding is VA will ask who the veterans are and ask the sheriffs and go into the cells, in that area. Any veterans here? Would you like to talk to us? We're from the VA. So that's how they get to them that way. That's the main way.
That's good to know. That's really good to know. Now, also, tell me what a basic day is like for someone who's incarcerated. I mean, they get up and they eat breakfast somewhere, or do they shower first? I mean, what is there like a schedule that goes on there that they have to maintain?
Yes, there's some orderly conduct in there. The sheriffs who run it, the sheriff's department runs the jail. And I did meet, by the way, before I forget, I did meet Sheriff Villanueva, and I think he's a fantastic man.
Oh,
he's
okay.
Very, very outgoing, and he's for the people. And he's had a lot of trouble with the hierarchy, in the LA government, but the man is doing the best job he can. And I think he's very, very good. I know he supports veteran stuff there too, but he's very, very good about that. So I just wanted to throw that in.
Yeah.
So a day probably for them is like, depending on what pod you're in. Now, if you're in a pod where you're kind of in self-isolation for behavioral problems, it's quite different because you're isolated and you're there, for a reason, because you have hostile behavior, whatever it is that you're doing. If you don't, and you're just a regular person that's walking in there, I've never been there during the day shift. I worked the evening shift. I've seen it on my shift, but they take turns with the showers because they won't want everybody crowding the showers at one time. Mm-hmm. So, on day one, somebody might have it in the morning. The next time they might have it in the afternoon. The next day, they variate it amongst themselves. And they do have private shower areas, so they take their showers in, one at a time in the towers. They eat their breakfast. Breakfast, what I was always told, that breakfast comes around 8 o'clock in the morning. So the day shift nurses have to get all the pills passed before that, and medications and treatments and shots and whatever. And lunchtime is probably around 11:30, 12. Now, some places, they have, what I told you what the trustees were, the trusted inmates, they will go with the sheriff's deputy to the kitchen and bring the trays up through the elevator and pass them out. And they clean up the trays after. So when you're dealing with all this and you're seeing how many people in there, they do have a regimented schedule of what they do. They are allowed free time. They go out into a little yard they have in there, where there's sunlight that comes through the towers. They have basketball court and sports and maybe kickball or soccer or whatever you want to call it. Not football, but like maybe a little bit of soccer.
Yeah, probably not.
No, I wouldn't think so.
Yeah,
they don't want anything that can be used volatile, but they do. Some places they do have basketball. I have seen that, but not too much with the balls. Mostly they just go out there. I don't see any weights or anything, but they can do push-ups and things like that if they want. So yeah, that's what day is basically like for an inmate, and at least in the Twin Towers it is.
Do they have any time where they can go to a class and work toward a certificate for a job or some kind of thing to, because just getting out on the street without any way to get a job is not rehabilitation in my mind. So
correct. So they do have that. Yes, they do. That's done during the day. They have classrooms there. And they have them in the men's central jail. I've seen that too. And then the one up north at Wayside, they have that as well. Okay. So yes, they do that. A lot of people get GEDs. Some people get college degrees, and they work on getting out of the jail system. Some people do go to the prison because I think you and I have talked about this before. The last governor that we had put out a bill which would make people who are in the county jails be able to stay longer than just a temporary situation, which overwhelms the jail system in all of California and all the counties. but they don't go to the state prison unless they have 5 or more years to go. And then even now, because of COVID, that's delayed. But you do have education, and a lot of people get out with college degrees, and hopefully they find a way when they get out to be hired, and someone takes a chance on them. And there are a lot of success stories when people come out of the jail, so they don't have to be in. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't even have more than a 3rd, 4th grade education. And the reason I know this is because I will pass the pills, and they ask me, what pill is this? What pill is this? All they do is they recognize the colors. They don't know the names, and they don't know what it does. They don't remember what the doctor told them. So you're dealing with that too.
Wow. I guess I was so fortunate to get to go through school, and when I hear this kind of thing, I seem to think somehow that everybody's gone through high school, and they just haven't. But I'm really happy that there's a way for people to better themselves while they're in a situation like that, and not have to be. It's got to be a negative experience, I guess. But to be able to better yourself would make it a much more positive experience. But
well, I do have to say, while you're talking about the situation, there's a lot of media, and a lot of people have seen that the law enforcement does this, law enforcement does that. The sheriff's deputies that I work with are the most professional, understanding people I've ever worked with. They are really, really good to the inmates. They treat them very well. They have to give them, they have to show them respect, but the inmates do, and they do. And there are some problematic people, but the deputies do a very, very good job. I'm very impressed, and I'm very proud to work with them. The men and women I work with are fantastic.
So it's not like all the movies we see where everybody's getting beaten up for no damn good reason.
No, not at all. Not at all. And
well,
I haven't seen anybody to get beat up at all. Never.
Now, you said something about LAPD. Now, you weren't a police officer, were you?
Oh, no. I'm a nurse. I worked with the LAPD in the city jails.
Right. That's what I know. I just heard LAPD, and I go, well, wait a minute now. How does that work? So you're not a sheriff either, just because you work with at the tower. So, well, that's good to know. Well, hey, Robert, we're getting to the end of the time here. I want to just thank you personally very much for sharing your, spending time on the Voice of the Veterans show today, and for your dedication to veterans and also to people who are incarcerated and need help. I think you're an asset to the Los Angeles community, and I hope you'll come back sometime. If there's other subjects that you'd like to talk about, the prison system and everything, I'd be happy to have you back. And thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you very much.
We'll see you again really soon, okay?
We'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Bye-bye. What a great guy he is, too. Man. Okay, so the thing here is that before we sign off today, I want to mention a point of confusion among veterans, that there is a difference between these 3 things. There's advance directive, there's DNR, which is do not resuscitate, and there's a living will. And these things all have, for our purposes, have a different point. There are 3 types of advance directives as far as veterans are concerned, the ones that we mostly deal with. And one is a living will, another one is a power of attorney, and another one is a healthcare proxy. And somebody says, what's a healthcare proxy? Well, think about it. If you're in the hospital and you can't make decisions for yourself, if you have an advance directive about a healthcare proxy, one of 2 groups is going to decide things for you. 1, your family, or 2, the VA. So depending on how well you get along with your family, and depending on if, they'd pull the plug on you right away, the VA wouldn't, and you'd want to assign that healthcare proxy to the VA. But anyway, advance directive, by definition, is a written statement of a person's wishes regarding their medical treatment upon and including a living will made to ensure that those wishes are carried out should a person not be able to communicate their wishes to the doctor. Now, a DNR, a do not resuscitate, is an order, or a DNR order is a medical order written by a doctor. It instructs healthcare providers to do not resuscitate, cardiopulmonary resuscitation, CPR, or the patient's breathing stops, or if the patient's heart stops beating, you do not resuscitate them. But these things are all planned in advance. Do you want your family deciding it, or do you want the VA deciding it? So you can use an advance directive form to make sure this request, or tell your doctor what you don't want if you don't want to be resuscitated for some reason. And in this case, the DNR order is put in your medical record by your doctor at your request. DNR orders are accepted by doctors and hospitals in all states in the United States. So that would cover all VAs because, they're a national organization. So the difference between a living will and a DNR is a document that specifies that the patient does not want to be resuscitated. A living will is a legal document wherein the patient designates if they want life support continued if they are incapacitated and in a terminal condition, an end-stage condition, or a persistent vegetative state. So a living will is something that is witnessed. It's a document that's witnessed orally, an oral statement executed by a principal expressing instructions concerning and providing and withholding and withdrawing life-prolonged procedures in the event of a terminal condition. So these are things that it's good to read about and know what they are and know what, you don't want to not have a plan and have your family come in and be told by a doctor who doesn't know you what should be done with you at the end of your life. So I'm just suggesting that it's important that we actually read these things, that we go see a social worker or a caseworker or ask around the VA who actually does this kind of work and have it put in your records in advance so that your family isn't traumatized not knowing what your intentions are, what your end of life intentions are. So I think anyone in a PACE clinic, your primary care physician would be able to direct you to that person who could help you fill out those forms. And it takes about, 20 minutes or so, maybe a half an hour to sit down with a caseworker and actually fill out these forms and have them immediately then signed by you, copies made. You can give them to your sister, your daughters, your brother, your whoever you want to know about this stuff in advance, and it will be permanently in your VA record so that everybody knows what your intentions are for yourself. And that way you've made your own choices about life and death, and that's important for all veterans to do that and just make it a smooth transition for your family, seriously. Okay, I want to thank you for joining us today on the Voice of the Veteran show. Again, we're continuing to make this the #1 show in the nation for firsthand veteran experience, things that go on at the VA that veterans want to know about and can benefit from hearing. And I want to thank Monte and Rhobert for being our guests today and chatting it up with us about various subjects that are important to veterans, things that they should know. And I think we've had a lot of great information here today. And I am your host, Gail Ochiltree, Army Airborne veteran, and I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching our show. Remember, it's recorded. You can see it anytime.